So Battlegrounds, I'm playing it. You're playing it. We're all playing Battlegrounds. Let's talk tier lists. This is something we don't really talk about that much on the Angry Chicken, but it's a new game mode. Everybody's got an opinion about what they think the tiers of heroes are in Hearthstone Battlegrounds. And we kind of have this lucky thing where we record every Tuesday like clockwork. So we can kind of look at everyone's tier lists, meld them all together, and also take into account the buffs and nerfs that happened this week and kind of have a talk. And so that's what I put together here. I have looked at Firebat's, Just Saiyans, and Raven's tier lists. And kind of I looked at those, kind of melded them together, and when I had to make choices, brought in my own damn opinion because it's our show, Jocelyn. So
imagine that.
Yeah. So for like the heroes that I think are best, I'm gonna kick it off with AFK. And if you are unfamiliar, listeners at home, with AFK, the passive hero power is that you skip your first 2 turns and start with a minion from Taverns tier 3 and 4 on turn 3.
One thing about playing AFK that I've found, because I pick her whenever she's offered to me, I really, really like her, is this is the tip actually that I got off of Twitter when I was talking about what my favorite heroes were to play. Essentially what the tip was is play the discover the 4-star minion first, because that will be the more powerful thing. And since you haven't actually done anything in your first 2 turns, you haven't decided what you're necessarily going to be building around yet. So the 4-star minion is going to always be better than the 3-star minion. So that's a better way to actually pick your strategy going forward. So pick the 4-star minion, then pick the 3-star minion.
Taking damage in turn 1 and 2, it is negligible levels of damage.
Right, because so turn 1, you're probably going to take like 2 damage, right? Because you're the way damage is dealt in the game is it's your tavern tier level plus the minions that survive their tavern tier levels, right? So you always have a base damage of whatever your tavern tier is, and then add to that however many minions survive, what their ratings are, add that all together, do the damage to the opponent. So on turns 1 and 2, you're probably like maybe you drop 5 or 6 health.
Worst case scenario, you go up against another hero I think is top tier, which is the Curator. This is the hero that has the most potential to do the most damage in the early stages because the Curator's passive hero power is starting the game with a 1/1 amalgam that has all minion types. I think Curator's right up there because amalgams are nuts. The regular 3-4 amalgams that you can actually draft in Battlegrounds, I think, is one of the best minions in the entire mode. It doesn't matter what you're drafting, amalgams are great.
So question about that. Does it count as an amalgam? So if you get 2 3/4s, then okay.
It's a unique amalgam.
It's its own thing. Okay.
It's a unique amalgam. But the thing is, like, it has all minion types. So any buffs you're laying down, like tribe-specific buffs, any battle cries you're drafting and playing, is going to benefit this 1/1 that you're starting the game with. And I've seen a lot of Curators win games, and I think every Curator I have seen win a game, I haven't won a game as Curator yet, still had their initial 1/1 amalgam. And just a game I played today, I think it was a 42-42 amalgam by the end of the game. The sky is the limit for this 1/1. I'm also putting Nefarian in the same like top tier as AFK and Curator. I saw him in the early days getting some hate because like I get it. Again, listeners at home, for the audio only crowd, it's a 1 gold hero power on Nefarian at the start of next combat. Deal 1 damage to all enemy minions. This is a late game hero, and I'm going to explain why. 1 damage to the whole board. Yeah, okay, maybe, it's only 1 gold. So this is something you could do first turn if you really wanted to. And if people are drafting token generators, which they should, because they can sell those tokens to make a little extra gold next turn, cool, you're going to be clearing them out. But the Nefarian's value is in, like, you're planting your flag saying, I'm going to get top spot or like top 2. I'm going for top 2 because one of the strongest strategies you can do right now is Divine Shields. Divine Shields are really strong in Hearthstone Battlegrounds. And Nefarian, for 1 gold, being able to mitigate every Divine Shield on the enemy board is worth so much late game. It is worth so damn much. Because the only thing more terrifying than Divine Shield is a Divine Shield poisonous. So at the very least, you're like upping your chances of killing the poisonous thing you swing into because that divine shield is gone. Like it's just worth so much, Jocelyn. Ugh.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. And I mean, so in terms of like divine shield heroes, like if you get Nefarian offered to you, because like you can never have duplicate heroes in the game, right? So if I have Nefarian offered to me, no one else got him offered to them. So by that logic, if you see like Nefarian and George the Fallen, who has the ability to give any minion divine shield for a price, then, maybe you're not as worried about choosing Nefarian because, no one else is going to be able to divine shield their minions because it's not in anybody else's pool. So like drafting your hero is actually, and paying attention to what you're offered in terms of what you then know you won't be facing is actually a really, really important part of the game. And
then this is probably up for debate, but again, it's our show. So I'm putting Maleficent up here. Maleficent Mana Storm has the passive hero power that mechs in Bob's Tavern have +1/+1. That's really important. Like your Mekaru token isn't going to be a 2/2, just right. FYI. It's only the what you initially bought from Bob's Tavern. Also, anything you discover when you get a triple is not going to have that +1/+1. A lot of times, doesn't matter, especially if it's a junk bot. Take the junk bot. Doesn't matter. That card is broken, and I can't believe it didn't get nerfed. I'm putting Maleficent up here, which means, Jocelyn, I think we got to put King Mukla up here. This is basically the same, if not better.
You were saying a lot of the tier lists you looked at were before the patch, right? So I think he absolutely is deserving of being up. Wherever you decide to put Maleficent, I think that is also where Mukla belongs because his bananas can go on anything.
Yeah, I think Mukla is arguably better.
Late game, I mean, you could literally just buy a whole bunch of beasts, especially once they actually change it so you can sell back from hand. I mean, you could just buy a bunch of beasts just to get the +1/+1 and buff up your board a little bit, right? Oh, so yeah, you can exactly. Kagjar in the chat room saying you're able to buy garbage beasts for extra bananas. That's basically what I'm getting at. Like you don't have to use the actual minion you buy because just the fact that it's a beast is going to activate your hero power. So
we're gonna get into what I'm calling really good, not the best, but really good. And Jocelyn, I only put 2 heroes in really good, and one of them was the Rat King.
This is one that I mentioned earlier because, like I said, he has the ability, because of his passive hero power, he has the ability to kind of go down any tribal route. So his hero power does switch every turn.
Yeah, it's a passive hero power that whenever you buy a insert tribe here, give it +1/+2, swaps type each turn. I believe it always starts as beast and then it randomizes from there on out.
I think so too. But I'm not 100% sure. I haven't actually played him yet. I've played against him, and I think he's hard to make use of, but I think he's really, really powerful. It's all about like making the right decisions in each tavern and possibly like bypassing your hero power sometimes, but then other times maybe like buying a minion with a really good battle cry that you're going to play in a couple of turns or something. Like I think he's difficult, but I've also seen Rat Kings totally destroy.
I'm torn on this one. So, I was talking about Maleficent. I was talking about Mukla, saying I think they're great heroes, and I think they're also good for new players. I'm of 2 minds with Rat King because I think the skill floor to play a game of Battlegrounds as Rat King is probably one of the higher ones. But I would tell you, if you're new to auto battlers, play the Rat King. Because even though I think the skill floor is a little high, I think it's going to force you to be more flexible than you might otherwise be. I think regardless of what hero you're playing. Yeah, if you play Maleficent, you're really going to gravitate to mechs and beasts if you're playing Mukla. But Rat King, the hero power itself is random and flexible. And I think that's going to put your brain in a really healthy learning space to learn how to draft in an auto battler. So I would say if you're new to this mode, play Rat King, because there are going to be many turns in a session as the Rat King where your hero power is not going to line up with what the draft is showing you. And recognizing that and drafting the correct things in spite of the fact that you're not getting the buff, that's going to win you games. You're going to learn better things, and you're going to learn lessons from Rat King that I think are going to carry over to every other hero in Battlegrounds. So I think it's a great learning tool. And on top of that, I think it's one of the best heroes in the game. Play Rat King, everybody. And also under really good, I'm putting Patchwork. Passive hero power start with 60 health instead of 40.
I really like him because I really didn't know what I was doing. So it's really good because it's like when you don't know what you're doing, you can take a couple of big hits and still live. So you get to see a little bit further into the game. I know like that extra 20 health might be a little bit of a crutch, but to be honest, it's one that I needed when I first started playing. So
yeah, it certainly can be a crutch. Like if you're new and you don't really know what you're doing, but like, I just think Patchwork's one of the best heroes. That's a 50% health increase. Every other hero in this game has 40. Patchwork has 60. That's nuts. And like, I know, like obviously healing, we look at it, we value it more, I think now, especially with combo decks like Holy Fire Paladin or Holy Wrath Paladin and whatnot, that we didn't like in the really early days. I remember like when we first came to Angry Chicken, 2/3 of us were playing freaking Magic. And we're just like, oh yeah, healing, you just lose slower. Like, but that's not the case here, because losing slower in this means living to 1 or 2 or 5 more turns than you would have otherwise. It's a chance to continue fighting. And that means everything in this, especially when making top 4, is basically a win.
The other thing is you can level them up really fast, right? Because you have that extra health to play with. So even if you just level your tavern over and over and over, then, you still might come out on top in terms of health, right?
Yes.
So like you still might not have, have lost all the way down to the 40 health that the other heroes start with. Even if you buy no minions and do no battling, you just go tavern, 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 tavern.
If Patchwork comes up, pick him. And on turn 1, if you get a token like an Alley Cat or is it Tide Hunter? Or like Tide Hunter?
Oh yeah, the 2/1 Murloc that gives you a 1/1. Yeah.
Yeah. Grab those. Grab those. And then turn 2, you just level up. Turn 3, sell 1, level up again. Just go straight to rank 4, and you will still, in most cases, have around 45 health left over. Like, get to tier 4 as fast as you possibly can, and you will still be, in most cases, 5 health away of the person that didn't lose any rounds.
Yeah. So
let's get to what I'm going to call good. They're not the best. They're not really good. They're just good.
I've had good luck, I guess, with them.
Let's kick it off with Shudderwock. You haven't played him. It's a 2 gold hero power. Your next battle cry this turn. Triggers twice. 2 gold. Nothing to scoff at. It does take away from your economy. I think this certainly leans late game. It can really shore up Murloc and demons, though. The times where I have encountered Murlocs or demons and they have terrified the Ebalivin out of me, it's because it was a Shudderwock drafting them. The health demons can get with a Shudderwock, the double Megasaur onto Murlocs, and the insanity that it can bring, it's terrifying. I think this is where those tribes come alive. And if demons or Murlocs like somehow get buffed, I am terrified to see what happens when a Shudderwock gets a hold of them.
Yeah. Shudderwock's really powerful. I think there's a lot of it's basically, it like gives you access to like Bran, but without board space. It's not every battle cry, but still. You can use it very strategically, and it's super, super powerful. And then you sell it back to Bob, and then it's back in the pool, and you can do it again next turn.
So Shudderwock, I would put under good. Yogg-Saron, I would also put under good. 2 gold hero power. Hire a random minion in Bob's Tavern and give it +1/+1.
I kind of I like this. And maybe it's just, I've had luck, but maybe it's just, I've been lucky. But I like Yogg. I like his flavor. I like the fact that it's like super random and RNG because that fits with his flavor. I like Yogg. I've had a lot of luck with him. I kind of like him in the later game as well, because once you have a little bit more currency, like once you have a little bit more gold to play around with, you can do the thing that you could kind of always do with RNG in Hearthstone, where like you could just buy the stuff that you didn't really want and then narrow it down to like a 50-50 or something of using your hero power and then buffing the thing that you really do want. So
yeah, I think it's good. I mean, it's obviously super strong early game because it's like, yeah, we tend to lean towards token generators for turn 1 so that we can cash a token in later and get an extra gold. But like, just whatever, get an extra +1/+1, see what happens. Roll the dice. It's Yogg-Saron. Do the thing. Mm-hmm. I like Yogg-Saron. Also, in the same kind of tier of heroes, I'm going to put Dancing Daryl. This seems to be, looking at all of the tier lists that I've seen, one of the most divisive heroes. Oh man,
some people think that this is the best thing ever. Some people think it is the worst and needs to just be removed from the game. It's hilarious.
Yeah.
So, I've seen more arguments about Dancing Daryl in the last week than any other hero on this list.
I think Dancing Daryl is a good hero. I don't think it's top tier. I think this is right in the middle where like I'm happy to take Dancing Daryl. But you know, if I ran across like an AFK or a Rat King or a Patchwork, I would pick them instead. But
yeah, I think someone's going to figure out exactly how to play him, and then it's just going to explode.
Yeah. So the passive hero power on Dancing Daryl is that after you sell a minion, randomly give 2 minions in Bob's Tavern +1/+1, which means then you can buy them and they'll have that buff, but there's also no guarantee it's going to land on the minions you want it to land on. Mm-hmm. But what has come up time and time again today? The strategy of taking an alley cat and selling that 1/1 to make an extra gold. Like that alone, just like, why would you not take an alley cat or a Tide Hunter in the early game if you got Dancing Daryl? There's no reason not to do that. I think of this kind of how I think of Rat King. Like it's not always going to be in your favor, but when it is in your favor, it's great. And when it isn't, you should still recognize that it's probably not worth drafting the thing that got the buff if it's not playing towards your strategy. And I think it's going to make you a better player in the long run.
I like Elvix in the chat room. It's a freaking Murloc in a top hat. What's the issue?
Well, I mean, if we were going art alone, Dancing Daryl wins. Dancing Daryl's the best hero in the game. I think that's another divisive one is George the Fallen. 4 mana hero power, most expensive hero power in the game. Give a friendly minion Divine Shield. I mean,
I played with him just before the show, and it was really, really powerful because I ended up with this like mix of heroes or minions that was kind of like half beast, half mech, and then just being able to give that extra layer of protection to my. I actually ended up with triples on the Scavenging Hyena and the Junk Bot, and I was like, Divine Shield on those things, and oh my god, it won me the match. It was awesome.
Yeah.
Now as long as there's, and Cat Guitar and Time saying, as long as there's no Nefarian. Very, very true. He's awesome.
You have no way of knowing that because the picks are hidden until all the picks are placed. And that's also fine. Like I've had games where I went Divine Shield and Nefarian just got beat up by everyone else and lost before I died. So like it's not always a guarantee like you've lost the game because there's a Nefarian. I also find George extremely interesting because so many of the heroes push you in one direction. Like one. And I think George pushes you away from only one direction. And I think that direction is Murlocs. Because we don't think Murlocs have a particularly strong late game. If you're going Murlocs, like your one saving grace is Megasaur. And a lot of other players aren't drafting for Murlocs at the moment. If they're taking Megasaur, it's for their amalgam, so it is still contested, but it's not the most contested thing in the world. So if you're going George, I would lean away from Murlocs, but feel free to just go down any other path you want.
Well, yeah, because I mean, the thing that I noticed the further on into the game that I got, the more mana I was floating. I talked about that a couple times. And so if you're going to float a lot of mana, you might as well be using it to protect your minions. I mean, you might not be able to do anything with your hero power early game, but a couple of key minions getting Divine Shield on them is really, really, really strong.
Yep. And Elvix brought it up. Like in mech, unless you're George, the only way you're giving Divine Shield to your mechs is by also adding taunt to them, making them a target. With George, you can give Divine Shields to mechs behind taunt, which is super strong. So I like George. And then also, I feel like Lich King, a lot of people can't seem to decide, but I'm going to put Lich King in this category of like solid heroes. It's a 1 gold hero power at the start of next combat. Give your rightmost minion Reborn. And
I haven't seen anyone playing with this guy. Not since like day 1 or 2.
I certainly have, but it doesn't seem to be the most popular hero by any means. But also, like, you can do some pretty crazy things with that Reborn. And like the other thing that's interesting,
it's true,
is it has applications throughout the entire game. It's only 1 gold, so it's easy to weave in. That's what I really like about it. And if you make it to a late game, have you gone up against the what the hell is the snake? A gas coiler. Gas coiler is like a 6-star tavern
that
minion.
guy. Yeah.
So it's 6-star, 7/7 with Death Rattle. Summon 2 random Death Rattle minions. Make this the rightmost minion in your late game as Lich King. Gross. It's just, that was the first time I went up against a Lich King. I'm like, oh, that's your end game plan. That's nasty. But also,
I feel like he should be poisonous. And I know that doesn't, whatever. But it's just that snake looks poisonous, okay?
Yeah. But also, like, I'm glad you mentioned poisonous because my Exna, that's kind of gross to Reborn my Exna too, because late game, like if it's the rightmost minion, it's probably dying last. So we killed one thing. Hopefully all the divine shields are taken care of at that point. So it doesn't matter that my Exna just came off of Reborn, has no buffs, whatever. It's got poisonous. Slam it into something, it's going to kill it. I don't care how much health your demon has. So Lich King's hero power is average power level, early, mid game. But if you run it out to 6-star tavern and you're picking up some of these late game minions, you can do some pretty gnarly stuff with the Lich King hero power.
Yeah, I think people definitely aren't giving him the benefit of the doubt, I guess, or I don't know, but they're not, I think, valuing him as highly as he can be used. And that's kind of how I feel with a lot of the minions that we've got in the good category. They require a little bit more setup and understanding, I think. And if you actually know how to play them and what you should be targeting with them, like Shudderwock, Yogg, Dancing Daryl, George, and Lich King, I think they are all much more complicated, but I think can be super powerful with the right positioning and with the right, I guess, draft.
Yeah, positioning is super important, by the way.
I still haven't quite figured all of my positioning stuff out, but
if you're
I'm getting there.
And you're playing Max, get your taunts the hell away from your junk bots.
Yes.
Because those Hydras are going to come in and kill your junk bot before they buff, and it makes you sad and you feel stupid. That's going to do it for this clip from this week's episode of the Angry Chicken Podcast. Part 2 will be going up tomorrow night. We're going to continue our tier list of the Hearthstone Battlegrounds heroes. Post-patch, mind you. We're going to talk about the next 3 tiers, the bottom half, if you will. Not so great, avoid, and just bad. So we still have quite a few heroes to make it through. We're going to talk about those heroes, why they're not so great, but also how to make them work if those are your only options. So stay tuned for that. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel and let us know what you think of these shorter clips. We'd like to do more of them because, frankly, a 90-minute to 2-hour podcast on YouTube, it's not really what most people come to this website for. So let us know. And if you are looking for the full uncut episode, don't worry. The full-length podcasts are still going to get uploaded. When we do these experiments, they're just going to go up a little bit later. Or you can go to iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, anywhere podcasts can be found. Subscribe to the audio podcast and get new episodes delivered straight to your device every Tuesday. That's going to do it for this clip, however. And until next time, job's done.